A brain full of ideas. Have you ever tried to listen to just one radio station, but your radio keeps jumping to different channels all by itself? That is a little bit like what having ADHD can feel like. ADHD stands for Attention Deficit/Hyperactivity Disorder. It is not a sickness or something you can catch like a cold. It is a difference in how the brain works. Think of it like a super fast computer processor that has a million tabs open all at once. It's trying to do everything, see everything, think about everything, all at the same time. This can make it tricky to focus on just one thing, like a teacher's lesson or finishing a single puzzle. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition. That is a big science word that means it affects how the brain grows and organizes itself. The parts of the brain that help us plan, focus, control our impulses work a little differently for people with ADHD. It is not about being lazy or not trying hard enough. In fact, people with ADHD are often trying incredibly hard to keep up. Imagine you are in a room full of interesting experiments, cool robots, bubbling potions. Your brain wants to explore them all, making it hard to stick with just one. This brain difference can show up in a few key ways. Their brains are simply wired to pay attention to a lot of things at once. Some people with ADHD might seem very energetic and always on the move, like a rocket that is ready for takeoff. They might fidget, talk a lot, or find it hard to sit still during quiet times. This is the hyperactivity part of ADHD. Others might seem more like quiet daydreamers, lost in their own amazing world of thoughts. They might have trouble paying attention and can easily forget instructions or lose their belongings. This is often called the inattentive part. One common experience is difficulty with something called executive function. These are the skills our brain uses to be the boss of our actions. For someone with ADHD, the mission controller might be juggling too many signals at once. This can make it hard to start a big project, like cleaning a messy room. It can also be tough to organize steps for a task or to manage time effectively. Another key symptom is inattention. This doesn't mean someone isn't listening on purpose. It is more like their focus is a butterfly flitting from one flower to the next. They might be in class trying to listen to the teacher explain math, but then their brain notices a bird outside the window, remembers a funny video they saw last night, and starts wondering what is for lunch. Before they know it, the teacher has moved on to a new topic. This can lead to making careless mistakes on homework, forgetting to bring home the right books, or losing things like jackets and lunchboxes. Impulsivity is like acting before thinking. It is blurting out an answer in class before the teacher finishes the question. It can also be interrupting conversations or having trouble waiting for your turn in a game. These symptoms can lead to a lot of big feelings. It can be frustrating to know what you are supposed to do, but find it impossible to make your body and brain do it. Understanding that these behaviors are symptoms of a brain difference, not a character flaw, is the first and most important step toward feeling better and finding solutions that work. One of the biggest questions people have is, what causes ADHD? Scientists and doctors are still studying this, but they agree that it is not caused by eating too much sugar, watching too much TV, or bad parenting. The most significant factor seems to be genetics. That means ADHD often runs in families. If a parent or sibling has ADHD, a child is more likely to have it too. It is passed down through genes, which are like tiny instruction manuals inside our bodies. Certain genes can influence how the brain develops, especially the parts responsible for attention and self-control. Beyond genetics, scientists are exploring other factors that might play a role. These are called environmental factors, and they can interact with a person's genetic makeup. For example, things like being born prematurely, having a very low birth weight, or exposure to certain substances before birth could increase the risk of developing ADHD. It is like having a genetic recipe for a cake, and these environmental factors are like slight changes in the oven temperature that can affect how the cake turns out. A common myth is that ADHD is just something that affects little boys who have too much energy. That is simply not true. ADHD affects people of all genders. However, it can look different. Boys are more often diagnosed with hyperactive impulsive symptoms because being disruptive is more noticeable. Girls, on the other hand, are more likely to have the inattentive type of ADHD. They might be seen as quiet, shy daydreamers, so their struggles can be missed for a long time. Their hyperactivity might be more internal. a racing mind, rather than external, like running around. ADHD is also not just for kids. While it is diagnosed in childhood, it does not magically disappear when someone becomes a teenager or an adult. So how do doctors figure out if someone has ADHD? There is no single blood test or brain scan that can give a simple yes or no answer. Instead, diagnosing ADHD is like being a detective. A doctor, often a pediatrician, psychiatrist, or psychologist, will gather clues from many different sources. They will talk to the person and their family, asking detailed questions about their behavior, feelings, and challenges. To get a full picture, doctors often use special rating scales and checklists. These are questionnaires that parents, teachers, and the person themselves can fill out. Once a diagnosis is made, the journey to managing ADHD begins. This is not about curing it, but about learning to thrive with it. Management often involves a team approach. For many, this includes medication. Stimulant and non-stimulant medications can help the brain's signaling pathways work more effectively. Another huge part of management is therapy, especially behavioral therapy. This helps people develop practical skills and strategies for organizing tasks, managing time, and understanding their emotions. But here is a wonderful secret. Having an ADHD brain comes with some incredible superpowers. People with ADHD are often highly creative, thinking outside the box to come up with brilliant, innovative ideas. Their minds make connections that others might miss. They can be incredibly passionate and driven when they find something that truly interests them, a trait called hyperfocus. They are often resilient, energetic, and have a fantastic sense of humor. The world needs these creative problem solvers. With the right support and understanding, people with ADHD can not only manage their challenges, but also harness their unique strengths to do amazing things.